Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy on Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and Nancy Allspaw Jackson is taking some time off. Thrilled to be here with you on this Friday. I just want to remind everybody we still have a few more tickets for our Sensitive Santa event. If you are here in the Los Angeles area, make sure that you go to our Facebook page, find the link, and then sign up for those free tickets. And by the way, you can bring the whole family with you. We had a great opening night last night for Sensitive Santa, and we're there tonight and this afternoon from 4 to 7, and then tomorrow from 10 to 3:30. Now, if you're signing up for an hour that says it's already booked, make sure you put yourself on the waiting list and please come. Thus far, we've always been able to get folks from the waiting list in. So we will work our hardest to make that possible. And we appreciate you guys being willing to do that. I want to very quickly have Traven show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us during the next hour. We've got a big show planned for you. And we love to hear from you guys. Please watch us in any of the ways that he's showing. And you can write in on many of them as well. I want to point out that our home website is autism-live.com. Lots to do on that page. Want to encourage you while you're doing your holiday shopping to check out our toy guide. They're toys that we specifically recommended. Some of them are sitting on my desk right now. That we had, we did some research, had a focus group of people, children through adults on the spectrum and their parents who came in and played with the toys, voted, and we also took notes on what they played with and how they played with it and how long they played with it too, in addition to what they voted for. So, and then we picked our winners and they're featured in the guide. And if you want to purchase something from the guide, all you have to do is hover over the name of the item and it's an interactive hyperlink that takes you directly to a place where you can purchase it. Please know that Autism Live does not make any money on that. That is not, there's not a kickback thing, there's no even associate thing. We just did that because you guys asked us to, and we're nice that way. You know, you ask us, that's why you should ask us for things on a regular basis, because we try very hard to make those things happen. Hey, at the beginning of Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, we'd like to cover a couple of stories that are in the news. So I want to jump right into that this morning. I love Spectrum News. You can find Spectrum News at spectrumnews.org. In fact, I think 2 of our stories came to us from Spectrum News. And I always encourage you, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. I want you to go to Spectrum. And by the way, we don't have an associate program with them either. But I encourage you to go there to get your autism news. One of the things that really caught my eye this week was a piece written by Donald McCarthy, and it's titled "The Cost of Delayed Autism Diagnosis." And it is written from the point of view of an individual who got a late diagnosis, Donald himself. And he was diagnosed at 28, and one of the things that he says here is that my diagnosis was a relief. Suddenly I knew why I felt the way I did and why I had had a hard time living the way others did. But I can only imagine how much better my life would have been if I had been diagnosed as a child and had the chance to understand myself at a younger age. Might I have made emotional connections with my peers instead of just with Bruce Springsteen songs and characters in Stephen King novels? And he goes on to talk about some of the statistics, backs it up with science, about some of the concerns that people have about early diagnosis. In fact, at one point, he says some have argued that a push for earlier diagnosis could lead to, and may already be leading to, an increase in misdiagnosis. But that argument does not hold up. For one, it ignores how the science on mental health has evolved in the past few decades. Many children who are diagnosed with autism today might 20 years ago have been diagnosed with a different mental issue, say attention deficit, hyperactive disorder, or obsessive compulsive disorder. Although overlap does exist, it's likely that previous generations were being misdiagnosed, or that diagnosis of these conditions were masking additional traits associated with autism, and goes on to talk more extensively about that. But he is crystal clear and so well spoken. I just want to say, a remarkable article. Check it out. It's in Spectrum News. It's called "The Cost of Delayed Autism Diagnosis." And he goes on to say that, for him at this age, he believes that early diagnosis is definitely the ticket. He also says that it's not a question of better parenting, that the mental health and actual health care has to get more on board with this. And I am, Donald, I'd like to be friends with you. I'm very much in agreement. Okay, then on goodmenproject.com, a site that I don't know that I'd ever been on before, had an article this week about autism and helicopter parenting. And if you know me, you know I participate in this particular activity. This was by Marguerite Ellisfun. I'm slaughtering her name. And she goes, the main subject of this is how colossally unfair America has become. Our country's education and support of children with disabilities is exponentially worse. So she's saying that basically it's in her response is to an article that was in the New York Times, an op-ed piece by Pamela Druckerman that was titled Helicopter Parenting Works. It was an entire article about the fact that if you want your child to succeed, you got to be in there driving the bus, doing things, making connections happening. Otherwise, because it's just not going to be handed to your child. And saying that the secret of raising a successful child is the helicopter parent. And so Marguerite Ellefson, her point is, if you think that's true of a neurotypical child, oh, sister, imagine what it is like for a child with unique needs. That is, the level of unequal and unfair the playing field is staggering when talking about that. So I thought this was a really great article. Want to encourage you to check it out. Again, it's on goodmenproject.com. And talking about the need for being a helicopter. I think anybody that is watching this show is probably already well aware of what it takes. I love our friend Lisa Ackerman, who does not say, what she says is when you're talking about autism, it's not game over, it's game on. And you got to get your running shoes on, and you got to be willing to dig in and fight for your kiddo, because sometimes you're all your kiddo has, right? So helicopter parenting, I'm all about it. Yeah. Okay. And then, and this one comes to us from wanderer.com. Another great article. It's I Am Autisticus, the autistic perspective. And this is all about how having autism, it's a different way of looking at the world. And that even though it isn't something that you can see with the naked eye, that there are things that folks on the spectrum are able to do and look at things in a different way that are unique and different. So I encourage you, it talks specifically about a presentation done by someone named Chuck McIntyre, and about how he has decided that, not unlike many other people on the autism spectrum, have decided to look at autism not as something that is wholly negative, because it should never be looked at that way, and instead that sometimes it is so intrinsically a part of you, and sometimes it is your superpower. So in any case, I encourage you. It's a really good read so it's at wanderer.com, and the name of the article is I Am Autisticus, like, what's the Spartacus, and it's colon the autistic perspective. Okay, then my last article for today, which also is from spectrumnews.org. We've talked a lot on this show before about acetaminophen, and that acetaminophen potentially has a very interesting relationship to autism, and with growing concern. There's a new report out that says that pregnant women who use acetaminophen will be more likely to have children on the autism spectrum and have children with attention deficit disorder. So it's a new study. It does have a major limitation that they were looking at cord blood in order to see that. But I think that if you look into this, you will see that there are some other interesting articles about acetaminophen. You probably know that a few years ago there was a recall on acetaminophen products that were liquid for children, and after that, many of the sources that disseminate information to pediatricians started saying we're no longer recommending that you give acetaminophen before giving vaccines. And if you look at the chart, and I've seen this in presentations, there's the chart of, when did autism spike? And everybody's looking for what changed right around when autism spiked. And one of the things, potentially, I don't know, but people are reporting on this, is that that was when pediatricians began recommending dose your child with acetaminophen before bringing them to the doctor's office to get the shot. And what we now know is that acetaminophen is something that disrupts the methylation cycle. I still use acetaminophen, and it's a great pain relief thing, but it does disrupt the methylation cycle. So the methylation cycle in your body is what takes out the trash. So if you've been exposed to environmental toxins, your methylation cycle, it's sort of like a air filter for your body. It like takes things in, it goes through, and then it spits it out through your skin. And we see that some people have eczema, and it means that their methylation cycle is struggling a little bit, right? And when you take Tylenol, it disrupts that. So imagine taking Tylenol or acetaminophen or some other form of acetaminophen right before you go in to get a vaccine. And the way the vaccine is supposed to work is it's supposed to go through your body. There's certain things that get filtered and pushed out, right? But that it accepts the rest of it. But if it's not filtering those things because you've taken the acetaminophen ahead of time, it is no longer advisable to take acetaminophen before a child gets a vaccine. And yet there are many doctors' offices that have not gotten that memo, even though all of the reporting sources have said that. So I say that to you, tell your friends, no acetaminophen before shots. And there we go. So, and apparently now it's no longer advisable to take when pregnant. There we go. Okay, so we've got a big show for you. Some really wonderful guests. We're going to be joined. It's not Christmas until Brian Turtle's here. I'm just saying that. Brian Turtle from Endless Games, that's when I know it's officially the holiday season. He's going to be here with us to talk about one of the winners from our toy guide. And then a little bit later on, we have Jeff Pinsker from Amigo Games, who's going to talk about another winner, Clack, from our toy guide. And then we will have other topics that we will cover as well. So stick with us. We're going to come back with Brian Turtle from Endless Games.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I said before, and I mean it, it's not Christmas here until Brian Turtle from Endless Games is on the show. So, you know, ring some bells. It's Christmas time. Barry, look what you're wearing. It's so cute. Look at how dapper you look.
Well, we're celebrating today, Shannon. It's a big day for Endless Games.
Well, it's a big day here for us, too, because you're here with us. We love Endless Games at Autism Live. It is no surprise that, once again, they have a winner in our toy guide. And you've got lots of great things. Traffic Cop. But Traffic Cop is the one that's in our toy guide this year that you can find on our website. And so let's talk about that, but then we'll talk about how amazing you got a whole line of toys, games that are, because it's Endless Games. Let's call them what they are, games. Let's talk a little bit about Traffic Cop, because I absolutely loved this, Brian.
Well, good. Well, I love it too, and I'm so glad. That's why I'm all decked out, because everyone at Endless Games is very excited to have Traffic Cop be a recipient of your award from Autism Live for a therapist-recommended game for children. So, we are very happy to receive that honor. And what Traffic Cop is it's basically kind of a sequel to a game we talked about last year, which was The Floor is Lava.
Yes, which we also loved and was featured in last year's toy guide.
That's right. And The Floor is Lava continues to be a top seller of ours. And in that game, you had foam tiles and a spinner, and you were trying to stay off the carpet because the floor was lava. In Traffic Cop, we used the foam tiles to create an intersection. So you build out a crosswalk, and I think there's, 36 tiles? Yeah, 36 of these. So you can really play this game as big or as small as your space allows. And then one lucky player gets to put on the yellow safety vest and direct traffic by way of a spinner. So the Traffic Cop says, player 1, move ahead 1 square, move ahead 2 squares, stop where you are, move left, move right, what have you, as the Traffic Cop is trying to get every player through the intersection and across the crosswalk safely. So what we loved about this game, I love the foam mats, first off. It's a throwback to our Floor is Lava game, like I just mentioned. So it really enables the game to be played in any space, as big or as small as you've got. You can play it indoors, outdoors. These are durable, they're non-slip. It's foam, so it's not just a coated piece of paper that a child in their socks might slip and fall on. So they're high quality and they're durable. But I love the pretend play aspect of the child who gets to be the Traffic Cop. Now, what we found is that while there's a winner and a loser, the winner being the player who gets across the crosswalk first, everybody wants to be the Traffic Cop. You want to wear the vest, and you want to be in charge, and you want to control the spinner. So it's a real feeling of a sense of authority. So we've embedded elements in the game where the person who begins as the game as the Traffic Cop may not always end the game in that role, because there's yield spaces on the spinner and on the foam pieces themselves. And when you land on a yield space, you draw a card, and some of the cards will say Traffic Cop Challenge, which says challenge the Traffic Cop to rock, paper, scissors, and if you were to beat the Traffic Cop, you then get the vest and the spinner, and you become the Traffic Cop. So it's a great way to keep every player in the game for the entire duration of the game. And it gives other players, rather than just the first one who gets the vest, it gives everyone an opportunity to potentially be the Traffic Cop.
So we loved this game, and can I tell you, the therapists went gazonga over it because there are so many different lessons that you can be working on with a school-age child when playing this game, that the child does not know that they're working on these things that are super important, like one of them being safety. That just the very concept of putting on the vest and saying, I'm the Traffic Cop, I'm in charge, helps school-age children to be aware of this social thing that happens at school, that the Traffic Cop is there and they're the person in charge. So we're reinforcing that. But then we're learning about directions, because you have to go to one direction or the other. So we're learning about which way arrows point. You can be working on right and left and going forward. It's listening. There's still always, with games, we're working on winning and losing, but there's a cooperation element to this game as well, because the cards add so much value to this, because as you said, sometimes you're doing rock, paper, scissors to challenge the cop, but I love this one says help a friend. Pick another player to move up one mat while doing high knees.
It's amazing. I actually picked the same card.
Isn't that funny? But so there's a physical element to this beyond the just following the directions, which following directions is a big deal, and working on that. But you're also keeping them moving, which is what a lot of your games do. I love this one, Animal Crossing, move up one mat pretending to act like a bear. Super fun. So that's imaginative play, all these different things. And here's one, no parking, do 5 squats, then move back one mat. I just love so many different elements of this. And the therapists were thrilled. They were like, this keeps everybody engaged, but we're working on one of the most important lessons, which is safety, because in order to work on safety, we have to already get these elements in here about following directions and understanding that that person in the vest is the person that we're listening to. So everybody thought that this was a big hit.
Yeah,
Brian.
it's one of my personal favorites. Regardless of age, I play it. I'm 46. We put ages 5 to 105 on the package. I love the skill in action, like what we have with the floor is lava, where you're not just sitting still playing the game. You're
Right.
doing high knee jumps or leg squats or push-ups or sit-ups or quacking like a duck or acting like a bear. There's so much physicality to the game that it doesn't become boring. There's not time enough in the game for it ever to be where anybody's kind of looking at their watch and wondering when this is going to be over, because it just plays very excitingly. Like there's just that physical element to it. Plus you add in the pretend play, and of course all those good lessons learned that you just referenced. That it really is it's the whole package, and we're very proud of it at Endless Games.
I just love it. And now people can, if with every toy that's on our toy guide, if you go, and you're going to find this under the school age section, and it is the winner for the therapist recommended toy game. And and if you just hover over the name Traffic Cop, it will take you, and you click it, it'll take you directly to a place where you can purchase it. But where else can they purchase it, Brian?
They can get it. You know what? At Endless Games, we constantly like to bring the message home to shop small. Go to your local toy and game stores in your community, the mom and pop stores, the independently owned retailers. That's really the kind of the lifeblood of every community. And so we encourage you to start there. Ask the retailer that's local to you if they carry Traffic Cop. Hopefully they do. If they don't, you can tell them to contact Brian at Endless Games. If you can't find it there, it is available at Barnes & Noble. And, you know, as a last case resort, there's always Amazon.com where you can get any of our products as well.
Absolutely.
So, but I do really, I can't emphasize it enough to encourage people to go out to the independent stores and support local businesses and shop small for those businesses.
And I just want to say, too, that one of the other things that I really love about Endless Games is that the games are well made, they're durable, and the boxes they're not cheap boxes, they're durable. And this ends up being a very important thing to me as a parent, because if the game can only be played once and then the box is like smashed or the pieces are missing, then you can't play it again. It doesn't matter how good the game was. So
Sure.
Endless Games takes time, and they're very well structured boxes, so you know they last a really long time. The vest is very well made, the cards are well made, and there's not small pieces that are going to end up everywhere. So you play the game, it keeps them engaged, and then cleanup for it is a great thing to get the kiddos involved in, and have a race to see who can pick up as many tiles as possible in 12 seconds, right? It's super.
That's great.
It will take 30 seconds to pick up the whole game, get it back in the box, lid closes, and it's one of those lids that, you know, so it opens like this, like a pizza box, but better. So that, you know, it's super easy to put away, and it all goes back in and goes up where you can. And I know that, like, some people are like, well, that's sort of ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous at all, especially when you have a kiddo who's going through intensive treatment. Having your games with all the pieces in the box ready to be played when the therapists are there is everything. So I love that also about all the Endless Games, which is a great segue, Brian, for what else are you featuring this holiday season?
Okay, so kind of moving up in age a little bit here is this one that I've been excited to tell you about as well. This is called AKA. And autism-live and Shannon, you guys have discussed our game Name 5.
Yes.
And that, of course, is, you know, where you have to name 5 breakfast cereals or name 5 cartoon TV characters, whatever the case of that may be. AKA, I feel, has a little of that Name 5 playability to it, because it's simple in concept, but it gets difficult the further involved in the game you get. It's called AKA because what it is it's a game where you get a category and we give you the answer, but we take the words of the actual answer and replace them with words that mean the same thing. So before I confuse everybody, what I mean by that would be, what if the card were to say, what superhero is also known as arachnid guy? Who might that be?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, exactly.
Okay.
If I said, what Sesame Street character is also known as Mega Chicken?
Big Bird.
That's right. You're a pro at this.
Brian knows I
So-
love to play games.
That's right. How about this one, Shannon? If this is a TV game show, also known as The Cost is Accurate.
The Price is Right.
Very good. Those are your
Yay.
layups. So, like I said, though, they get a little trickier the further into the game you get. One of my personal favorite clues in this game that really you kind of have to put on your thinking cap for, it's what is the kitchen appliance, also known as tiny nonverbal greeting?
Tiny, not so small, quiet.
All right.
Hello.
Hello would be a verbal greeting. Maybe a nonverbal greeting would be a wave. And
So a
tiny
small,
one would
tiny
be a
wave?
microwave.
Oh, a microwave. Okay, that was a hard one. A
Yeah,
microwave.
so
Oh, I like
They
it.
really range from ones that you kind of really have to think about to ones that it might be Major League Baseball team, also known as baby bears. That would be
The Cubs.
The Cubs, exactly.
There we go.
So
Well, you know
they
what I
really-
love about that game is it teaches you flexibility of language, because a lot of our kids get like comfortable with certain words, and some of our kids are hyperlexic and they want to know more words. Other kids are just like, these are the words I use and I ask for things the same way, and so that teaches flexibility of language,
Right.
which is
And
very
there's-
important.
And there's a ton of content, so you can kind of stack the deck beforehand. If you know the players might not know the Tom Cruise movie, also known as Uppermost Rifle, you take out the Tom Cruise category card and you put in the superhero card or the breakfast cereal cards or Netflix shows, Elton John songs, Shades of Red. There's really anything and everything across. I think it's
love it.
upwards of about 300, 400 total cards.
I love
In fact, it's over that. So there's plenty of content here to customize the game based on the age range and the audience you're playing with.
And that's called AKA.
And that's called AKA, exactly.
Wonderful.
And another place that people can find out about our products is at endlessgames.com, so they can always go there as well.
A favorite of
All right.
mine. And I see you're featuring Password over your shoulder.
That's exactly right.
An
The
oldie
great
but a
word game
goodie.
Classic. The kind of the grandfather. It's over 50 years old now. Password is, and this is the original secret word game that would come with one of these magic window revealers
I love it.
and the word card that would look like this. And you slide the card into the revealer, and you can read the password. And I then have to get you as my partner to say what the password is by giving you one-word clues. So I've got one queued up here, and let's see how many words it takes for me to get you to guess the secret password.
Okay, I'm playing.
The first clue is giggle.
Laugh.
That's right. Laugh
Was
the
it?
answer. So that was in one clue. We would have gotten 10 points for that.
I love that. And you know, yesterday on the show, our jargon term was inhibition. And one of the things in Password is you can say anything that you want to, but you can't say the word. So you have to inhibit because you want to say the word laugh, but you can't. That's the only clue, and that's a great game to work on inhibition with your kids who are working on inhibition. Love.
True. And I mean, Password, when you think about it, is really the grandfather to the $100,000 Pyramid TV game show or games like Taboo, where you're trying to coax a response out of your teammates and your partner, but you're limited in how you can go about getting that response from them.
Exactly. You have to prevent yourself from saying the one and only word. And what else have you got back there? Do I see Jeopardy
Okay,
back
so
there?
the next crew kind of happened quickly here. Some TV game show games. We've got card game versions of Jeopardy,
Oh, love that.
and we do a junior version as well. So for the younger age, this one is a little bit more user-friendly. And what's great about both of these Jeopardy card games is they play exactly like the show. There's 4 mini decks in each one of these card game boxes, and in each deck, it's 52 cards that presents an entire half-hour episode of Jeopardy. So you have
Wow.
25 cards laid out in a grid for the Jeopardy round, 25 in a grid for Double Jeopardy, and then 1 Final Jeopardy round card. So you get that 4 times over in each box. So it's
Love
basically
it.
4 full episodes of the TV show.
And we love trivia in my household. So, but I'm a person who likes to break the rules with games and use them in lots of different ways. So I love that in the car. So instead of having my son with his face in the phone the whole time, when my husband and I go someplace long car ride with my son, we'll crack out the trivia cards and have like a really good time. And
I love it. I love that.
Then it leads to conversations.
Yes. Listen, I'm unplugged, Shannon. My whole crusade in life is to spend less time on the phone and less time emailing and doing all the stuff that we're forced to do because there's always work out there.
Yeah.
I'm all about getting unplugged wherever time permits, wherever the setting allows, and playing cards, be they trivia cards, playing cards, AKA cards, playing a game like Traffic Cop, getting unplugged and away from texting and video games, and we want human interaction.
Absolutely.
And that's what board games provide.
Absolutely. Endless games. You guys have got so many things that are wonderful. And for me, that's what the holidays are all about. I feel like it's enforced time when we really should be spending time with family members. We should be doing it all the time, but holidays, we got to stop everything else and do this. So
we all kind of have a little built-in excuse to spend more time with family and to do less on our phones and get offline a bit more around the holidays. So
and wear crazy suits.
And wear crazy suits, that's right.
I love it. I love it. Well, Brian, we adore you. We love Endless Games. Please give everybody a big thumbs up from us. And we encourage everybody this holiday season, definitely Traffic Cop. You can find it in our toy guide at the top of the page on our website, autism-live.com. But also you can go to endlessgames.com. But do, as Brian said, go to your local toy store where you will find a lot of the line of toys from Endless Games because they're fabulous. Brian, you're fabulous. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Happy holidays to you and yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
We love us some Endless Games and some Brian Turtle. We're going to take a break, and then we are going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Pinsker. I'm saying it wrong. Pinsker. Did I get it right now?
Pinsker, there we go. It's
Pinsker.
phonetic. Thank you.
All right, there we go. From Amigo Games, you are the CEO. Tell us a little bit about Amigo Games.
So Amigo Games is a German company. It's been around for just about 40 years. We launched the U.S. subsidiary here 2 years ago. So I had the enviable task of going through all of their archive. They had more than 1,000 games, and I picked out the games that I thought were right for the North American market, and I used 3 basic criteria. The first one is that all of our games have to have 5 rules or less. We feel like these days families are pressed for time, particularly in the special needs community. So we need something that people can learn to play quickly, they can get started right away, and that are relatively simple for people to catch on to. So that was criterion number 1. Criterion number 2 was that they had to have European quality. So if you look at our games, they have a linen finish on the components. You flip over the inside of the box, you'll see that there's white board typically instead of the craft board that a lot of other companies use. The components are a little bit thicker. The cards are made to last longer. So this quality piece that we have, this European quality, extends not only to the components, however, but also to the gameplay itself. So even though there are only 5 rules, these games are robust. There's decision-making, there's strategy, there's all sorts of things for the kids to do. And then number 3 is another one that we think is very important. Everything in our line, with 2 exceptions, retails for $20 and under. So we
appreciate all of those things.
Well, thank you. Yes, easily accessible, and not only from a gameplay standpoint, but also from a pocketbook standpoint.
We love it. Now, you guys know if you watch the show that we shoot on a green screen, so that anything that's black on the desk or on here is green, and especially if it's see-through, you can see there's a lot of green. It's not a magic trick, it's just a green screen. But we particularly, you've got a lot of great games, but we particularly went Gazanga over Clack. And there's, you can see how pretty that box is when it's not on a green screen. And this got our top game for school age because we thought it was really wonderful. I actually sat down and played this with a bunch of therapists, and they went really wild over it, Jeff. They thought that this was a really great game to play with some of our kids during therapy, because they'll do therapy and then they take a break. And we want them to do something in the break that doesn't feel like it's therapy, that feels like it's fun, so that when they go back to doing the hard stuff, that they feel like, wow, I got a little bit of a break. But anytime that we can make that break that feels good also be educational and working on things, then we're working on all pistons, right? And they really loved this because they felt that it worked on a bunch of different things. So let's talk about, and I love the fact that you've got the 5 steps. And in fact, this one is just 3 things that you have to read for the directions. Let's talk a little bit about how you play Clack. Do you want to tell us?
Sure. And I'm going to mention one other thing, and that is that I am the proud stepfather of a kid on the autism spectrum. He's 15 years old. So
wow.
As we were going through this process of looking at all the games from Germany, I brought a couple of suitcases of games back with me, and we tested them with him. And so these have only, and this isn't something that is super well known. It's not something that we heavily promote, but at the same time, it's something that we think is really important to have products that are accessible to the special needs community. We sponsor here. We live here in Austin, Texas. So if anybody's watching in Austin, let us know, because we sponsor a game night every Friday. We host kids on the autism spectrum, and other special needs kids are welcome to join us as well. And we play some of our games there. And it's not just our Amigo games, but we do it from other companies as well. But it's a great way for us to make sure that our games are working, that they're the right fit for every child of every ability level. So with that in mind, let me tell you a little bit about Clack, which is one of our favorites. It also happens to be one of our top sellers. We got a little bit of reflection there. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Clack is a game, as I mentioned, that has 5 rules or less, like everything else in our line. And it's super simple to learn. It's also our #1 seller. I'm going to tilt this down so you can see some of these pieces right here on the board, on the table. So the way this game works is there's a pair of dice. We roll the dice, and we get a color and a shape. So if you see, we've got a green flower. That means that all of the players at the same time are racing to find green flowers. And when they find a green flower, they use the magnet that's in that disc to pick up as many other green flowers as they can. With all players playing at the same time, there's another green flower. So that's rule #1. Rule #2 is that white isn't anything. And when we explain it to parents, we tell them it's a wild card, but kids don't always know what a wild card is, so we say it's an anything. So if you get white plus red, that means you could pick up anything with red. And if you get white on this die, let's say you get a flower, you can pick up anything with a flower on it. So in this case, the color doesn't matter. If you get white and white, it's a total free-for-all. You're just grabbing as many discs as fast as you can. The game is over when all the discs are gone. So if you want to work on counting skills, you could have the kids count and see how many discs they've collected, or you could just compare the size of the stacks that the kids have collected, and the winner is the one with the highest stats.
And
So it's a very simple game to learn. It's a very simple and fast game to play, but it's one that kids will play over and over again. We're working on pattern recognition, color recognition. One of the nice things here is you don't have to wait for your turn. So there's plenty of socialization. What we're finding is that as we watch kids play, they're actually calling out what it is they're looking for and sort of talking to each other as they do it. Oh, there's a yellow flower. Oh, there's a blue footprint. Oh, there's a green star. So it's a game that can get kids, even if they have speech delays like my stepson does, to be a little bit more vocal as they play the game.
yeah, we really loved this. And, you know, the name of the game is Clack, and part of that, I'm sure, is because when you put one magnet together with another, it makes this very satisfying clack noise. And truthfully, we felt that sensory, there is something about this game that's very sensory pleasing, that as you collect them, it makes this wonderful noise, and you can feel them sort of suck into each other because the magnets are pretty strong. You basically just have to hover it over and it will pick it up. It'll come to it. So we thought it was very fast-paced, fun, that for our kids that were trying to work on focus and attention and being able to focus for periods of time, this was very reinforcing for them, because in the beginning, when there's a lot of things that are out there, you're really having to scan, and there are, you know, sometimes 3 different shapes and there are 3 different colors on each piece. So if you're looking for a blue star, you're really having to scan and go, well, that's a star, but it's red. Okay, that's a star, but it's green. And so you really have to scan. Now, as the pieces get smaller and smaller, now you've got to get there faster because somebody else may get the one and only piece that's there. So we thought that it was a great social game for kiddos to work on, but also great for building attention span and focus to things. And that sensory part of it put us over the top, that, you know, the clacking them together. So the cleanup of this game is 7 seconds. Because it means you pick them all up.
And that's the great thing. When you're done playing, it's already cleaned up, which is wonderful. We typically like to have games where there's, if you can, some sort of tactile sensation, as well as some sort of cognitive effort that you're putting forward. And this is a game that really exemplifies that. There's also and this is a small rule at the end of the instruction, where for younger kids or kids that you want to start and just keep the gameplay mechanism, you can actually have them take turns, and they roll the dice. One player looks for all the yellow arrows. When they're done, it moves to the next player. And it's not so much of a competitive game per se, but at the same time, it gives kids a chance to learn it, so that when it is a free-for-all, when you don't have to worry about waiting for your turn, as you mentioned, for those short attention spans, then they've got a sort of built, they already know how to play. It's sort of a beginner level if they want it, although most kids, of varying abilities, most kids really don't need it. And it's also a neat game for neurotypical kids to play with kids who are on the spectrum from our experience, because neurotypical kids aren't necessarily better at this. Their reflexes may be a little bit better, but their attention to detail may not be. So it's an interesting game that sort of levels out the playing field. You've got kids who are on the spectrum playing with neurotypical kids.
Well, we loved it. We loved how it's packaged. It's in a smaller box. This is a great game if you're going away for the holidays to pack and take with you. You really could play this at Grandma's house very easily because it doesn't take up that much space and is quick, easy cleanup. And you can get everybody involved. I love that it's 2 to 6 players, and the age rating on it is 5+, and I think that could go to 105. I can see grandmas really loving this to play. And you know, sometimes for people who are, I just want to say this quick thing, you know, sometimes this is the time of year where we get tons of families writing in and saying, you know, my kiddo who's on the spectrum, I just see that my family, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to engage him or her. They, you know, they don't talk to them the way they talk to the other kids. And what do I do? And this is what my advice to you is. Bring a game that your child knows how to play that will be fun for everyone, and this is what spurs the conversations and will get your child being comfortable and being themselves, and then your family gets to know your child playing a game. I really think that that's the ticket.
I agree, and the other nice thing about it is that the duration is fairly quick. Not only is the gameplay quick in terms of not having to wait for your turn, but the game itself takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to play. And our theory on this is that if you're going to play games for, let's say, 30 minutes, we'd rather have you play 3 to 5 times and have potentially 3 to 5 different winners than play one game of 30 minutes and have only one winner. So this is a game, I think, that fits that criterion very well. I should also mention that based upon the success of the original game, Clack, we've actually added a companion game, which I don't think you have seen, that just came out called Clack Categories.
Oh.
And this is one that's for slightly older kids, and it's interesting. The only difference in the gameplay is that instead of making an exact match, looking for a red flower, you might be looking for something in the category of plants, or vehicles, or things that you eat, or things that you wear. There are 5 different categories in the game. So there's an extra cognitive level built in there that slows things down just a touch. That is appropriate for an older age group. So this one's age graded 7 and up, and the one that we were just talking about, the original, was age graded 5 and up.
Well, I really love that. I really love that, and I think that that's awesome. And sometimes when we're teaching categories to a child who's learning languages, that would be like the ideal thing to cement it. So I absolutely love that. We should say that one of the ways that you can get this game, Clack, is by going to autism-live.com, go to the toy guide, and in the school age category, you'll see that this got the top game. And all you have to do is take your cursor, hover it over the name, and click it, and it will take you directly to a place that you can purchase Clack. But where else can they get it, Jeff?
It's available pretty widely. We always like to promote your local, mom and pop toy store, your independent toy stores. This was one of the top selling games in the independent toy channel. So I would guess that your local toy store would have it. We also sell it at places like Target. It's available online, of course. Books A Million if you're in the South. So there are a variety of places that our distribution on this one is pretty good. So it should be relatively easy to find. You can always go to our website, and we have a store finder on there. You can put in your area code, your zip code, and then you can find it that way as well.
I absolutely love it. And see, I've already packed it up here. It was so super easy to do. But Jeff, you guys, I've got 2 more minutes here. What other games do you guys have that you want to let people know about during the holiday season?
This is another one that was a huge success with our local autism game night, and that is called Code Stack. So it's a word game where typically the problem with word games is that the person with the largest vocabulary wins. So when you're playing with a special needs child, typically you always have an advantage over them. In this game, that's not the case. What you're doing is creating words in code, and then everyone's racing to try and guess everybody else's words.
I love that.
Very quickly how it works. We'll start with a 3-letter word. So what I'm going to do is make a word in code. So this is either a D, an E, or an F.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add on another disc. This is either an N, an O, or a P. And then the third letter is either a G, an H, or an I. So I'm going to stack these up. I'll put it right here on top of the box. And then you have a card that tells you the red is either D, E, or F, the yellow is either N, O, or P, and the orange is G, H, or I. And you have to figure out which of those letters come together to form a word.
Okay.
And because it's only a 3-letter word, it doesn't matter how many big words you know, doesn't matter how many other words you know. If you can guess what that word is, then you get the point. So it's a great game for kids of different language skills to play together. One of the things you can do also is you can vary the lengths of the words. So the child might be making a 4-letter or 5-letter word for the parent to guess, while the parent's making a 3-letter word for the child to guess. So if you do run into a situation where the kid needs a little bit of extra help, you can build that in. So this word, for example, would be dog, right? Because you get the D from the red one, and the O from this one, and the G from the orange one. So that's how you'd create the word dog, and you'd stack it up. Once again, we all play at the same time. So we're all making words together. We reveal our words, and then everybody tries to guess each other's words.
I love that. Available in the same kinds of places?
This one's going to be available at pretty much specialty stores only. It's a brand new game for us. It's called Code Stack. But yes, it's available at your local independent toy store.
Wonderful. And I've got like 30 seconds left. You got anything else there? Or are we good?
We do, of course. Here's another one that's done really well with the autism community. It's called Ring-a-Ding-Ding. And the way this one works is you look at a card, if I can get this open. There we go. You look at a card that has a pattern on it. And we are all racing to use the little rings that are on here and put them on our finger in that pattern. You're actually taking out, let's see what we need. We need a green one. So I'm going to dig through here and grab a green one and then put it onto stretch it across my fingers like this.
Right.
To try and make the pattern.
So
whoever makes it first, there's a bell in here which you can play with or without. If you have too much sensory input, then you can leave the bell out. But once you've made this pattern, you ring the bell. That signals that you've made the pattern. So again, it's a great digital dexterity game. It works on the links between your brain and your fingers. It's also a great game because it's made so that the drawings are made so you can use it with your right hand or your left hand, palm up or palm down, either way. And then there's an extra level in there once you've mastered these, where you do it you look at this and then you put it face down, so you have to do it from memory.
Ooh.
Even more challenging.
Ooh.
And we find that's a great way for parents and kids to play together. Kids' short-term memories are so much better than parents' short-term memories. So this is a way to, once again, level out the playing field so parents and kids can play on equal terms.
Well, they're clever games.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding. They're clever games. They're well-made, well-packaged, and great things to get during this holiday season for the kiddos in your life, on the spectrum or not on the spectrum. But I think that they're really particularly great for our kiddos on the spectrum because we're working on a bunch of things that we want to work on with them. Jeff, I thank you so much for being here with us, and congratulations on these amazing games.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for the recognition that you've given us. It's great to be to have that connection into the autism community, and we really appreciate the time and effort you put into finding great toys for kids of all ages and abilities.
Well, we're glad to know about you. I'm sure that this is just the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
I'm looking forward to that. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right.
So Clack, you guys, from Amigo Games, and I love that Ring-a-Ding-Ding and the code one as well. So be looking for those in your small specialty toy stores. But you can get Clack by going to autism-live.com, go to the toy guide at the top, go to school aged, find where it says Clack, put your cursor there, click on it, and that will take you directly to a place where you can order Clack. All right, we are like out of time and overtime here, but I want to thank all of you guys for being with us, and I have a list of things that are happening next week, because we're just getting down to it, aren't we? Please don't forget, though, if you are in the Los Angeles area and you want to come to Sensitive Santa tonight or tomorrow, where we're giving things away, like all of the games that we demo on the show, we wrap these and we give them away. And those and many, many more. So please register. Go to our Facebook page to register, because you can still come tonight and tomorrow. But next week on the show, on Monday, we have Bonnie Yates, who's going to be with us. We're going to be featuring a bunch more games as well. On Tuesday, a best of episode. On Wednesday, I don't believe that we have Dr. Doreen Grampichet, but we might have Evelyn Kung with us. On Thursday, we're going to talk about Osmo. If you don't know what Osmo is, please make sure that you're here on Thursday to talk about that. And then on Friday with Let's Talk Autism, we're going to be doing some more games. And I believe that we have Vince Redman on Friday. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.